It is Sunday, September 19th, 2021, and I'd like to bring to your attention two people who are missing. Gabby Petito is a 22-year-old, last seen August 24th in Salt Lake, Utah, checking out of a hotel. There are other sightings that have been reported, but I can't verify them. The other person is her fiance, Brian Laundrie, 23 years old, last seen September 14th, 2021, and he was reported missing from his parents' home in Northport, Florida. If you're not aware, Brian has been missing, according to his parents, since Tuesday. As of yesterday, they started a search at the Myakkahatchee Creek Environmental Park, which adjoins another much larger preserve. And I'd like to point something out about Brian's gear. It has been reported that Brian left with a backpack with a waist belt. And on the right, you can see my Mountain Smith day pack. It has a waist belt, but it's not sufficient to carry you more than maybe the weekend at the most, not including food. On the left is my Nature Hike 50 liter, and you can see it also has a waist belt. So authorities, when describing Brian's gear, just said a backpack with a waist belt. And as you can see, there's quite a difference. This is the type of backpack that people use when they go on section hikes or long distance hikes. And I was on Brian's Instagram and Gabby's Instagram a few days ago, and I saw pictures of them in Appalachian Trail section hike, and they were both kitted out with larger backpacks like mine. It's interesting that nobody has thought to mention what backpack Brian took, because the ability to stay out for a very long period of time depends on the size of backpack you take. The size I saw on Brian and Gabby were larger backpacks like mine. So you might say to me, well, what's the big deal? What difference does it make? It makes a huge difference. If you look at this map, the highlight is around that place where Brian's car was found, right at the entrance to the environmental preserve, which dumps out into a larger preserve. And it's 39 miles, 39 square miles. It sounds much bigger to say 2,500 acres, but it works out to 39 square miles. I'd just like to point out another couple of things on this map. The pin is at the entrance to the preserve where Brian's Mustang was found, and the Northport, the little town of Northport, is just at the end on the bottom right. Going up through the top of the map and off the screen is the 301, and it is conceivable that you can walk that. It would be a road walk, but you could walk it to pick up the Florida Trail at a couple of different points north of this location. So what does all of this have to do with the backpack and all that? All I'm saying is this detail about the backpack is critical to determine what Brian's motive was for leaving and sort of disappearing. I've heard him characterized as hiding at this point. The point is that the backpack size, whether it's a day pack like my Mountain Smith or whether it's a 50 liter, determines what he was thinking when he left. If in the 50 liter you can carry enough food and water to stay out for a week, 10 days, even 2 weeks, assuming he's carrying water filtration capability and he's experienced enough to have a Sawyer filter and maybe a CNOC water bag. I'd like to turn now to Gabby's story because they intersect. And Gabby and Brian were engaged by all accounts, from both families and from their own account. They took this opportunity to go on a cross-country trip because they determined that the COVID restrictions would not allow them to have the kind of wedding they had hoped for. Nevertheless, the fact that Brian left twice, first on August 17th through the 24th to fly home to Florida and put all of their things in storage, and then flew back to Salt Lake, where Gabby was last seen on camera by third-party verification. And then they traveled again together, but other than anecdotal sightings, there's no confirmed at this point record of where they were actually seen. Fortunately for us, there have been posts on Instagram sort of suggesting where they might go next, and this map that you'll see coming up has a route from Salt Lake City where presumably Brian was picked up at the airport, and then there's about a 5-hour drive, a little over 5-hour drive up to Jenny Lake in Yellowstone National Park, which is where they were headed. Gabby wisely used a map device for hikers and travelers called All Trails. It's mostly for hikers. And she had researched several locations, including Jenny Lake up in Yellowstone. On screen, you'll see a description of Gabby. She's a white girl, about 5 feet 5 inches tall and 110 pounds, with blonde hair, blue eyes, and several tattoos, including one on her finger and one on her forearm that reads "Let It Be." I believe that's her right forearm. The FBI is in charge of this portion of the case. If you have seen or spoken with Gabby, please call the FBI tip line on the screen. Please only call if you have credible information. Please don't call in hoaxes or body found or whatever. We'll find that out from the FBI. There's already been too much misinformation called in. And now let's return to Brian Laundrie's description. Brian Laundrie appears to be about 5'10" and approximately 170 pounds. He was last seen by his parents on September 14th at their home in Northport, Florida, possibly wearing a backpack and believed to be hiking in the Myakkahatchee Environmental Preserve. I could not find a physical description for Brian, even though we have plenty of pictures of him. I've put this picture back up because it asks a very important question. How does Brian stay in the background where he is the one person that knows where Gabby was located? This question is important because Brian returned home with the white van that belongs to Gabby Petito. It's registered to her and it's insured by her. However, currently it's been being treated as shared property in that they are both authorized drivers on that van. Why Brian returned home on September 1st is anybody's guess. And I'm not going to guess or speculate. There's plenty of channels out there doing that. And I will leave you links to a couple of credible ones, as well as a CNN article that's current as of this morning describing their trip timeline. Keep in mind, these two young people are under 25, and that means that their mental development is not yet complete. If Brian panicked and drove home without Gabby for whatever reason, and then lawyered up and shut up, that might have been okay for a day or two to get his bearings. But to be sure, he and or his parents should have spoken up and given the Petito family a description of the last time he had seen her. We don't know why he hasn't done that, but suffice to say, he hasn't. And that leaves us with two missing persons. Gabby's stepfather is in Wyoming with the FBI portion of the search, and Florida agencies are handling the search for Brian in the environmental preserve. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your attention to these two cases. Links in the show notes as always. God bless Gabby and her family. God bless Brian and his family and all the missing. And God bless you. See you real soon.